Hello, crafty friends, and welcome to Late Night Crafting with me. We are going to make a very clean and simple card today using this absolutely gorgeous and massive stamp set. Now, this is definitely not your regular size stamp. This is the new Sakura Blossoms Stamp Set by Altenew, and your usual stamps are maybe 6 by 8, but this is your entire cardstock. This is a standard cardstock which I use to cut my card panels from or card bases from. So this stamp fits over this entire panel there. So there are two parts to this stamp set. We have this one big image and this tiny little image. For today's project, we will actually be using just this tiny image, but I do have a video coming up next week where I will show you how I use this really large image. We could turn them into cards, or I plan on doing a wall art using this image. So stay tuned for that. But for today, we will be creating a using this small image. Now, talking about the stamp itself, we have some really beautiful sentiments on this. We have let today be a new beginning, forever grateful for your friendship, wishing you peace, so glad our paths crossed, so grateful for you. May serenity find you, a little note to brighten your day, congrats. Then some messages are miss you with love. Then we have sending hugs, you've got this, sending sunshine, brighter days ahead, appreciate you, just a note. In horizontal and vertical, we also have another miss you, a small little hello, thank you, you're a gift, with love, and heartfelt thanks. I feel this stamp set has not just this beautiful image, but also is filled with these beautiful sentiments that can go with your everyday card making. And best part, you can use this entire stamp set as just one single piece, frame it up for a beautiful wall art, or you could even create 4 different card fronts because it fits perfectly onto this panel. And I generally use this entire panel to cut out 4 card bases. So you will get 4 5.5 by 4 1/4 card panels from this. So you could definitely create 4 cards using this one big stamp set. Don't worry, I will have a video to that in probably this week itself. But today we will be using this one. Another product that's included is the stencil set, so you could definitely use that entire image to color in the image using your alcohol markers or watercolors also. But you also get this coordinating stencil sets. There are, I think, a total of 6 of them, 6 different stencils. Yes, there are 6 stencils, and it's beautifully layered. So back of the packaging, you will see how to layer each of those stencils, and behind the stamp set, you will have these beautiful color combinations that you can take inspiration from. I absolutely love how you can really create 4 different cards using just one stamp set. Isn't that absolutely perfect, especially when you are into making, say, mass producing cards or creating those clean and simple designs with just floral backgrounds and not much of us in the background. So I think this stamp would be perfect for that. Now, the set also comes with an embossing folder, which does not, well, emboss the entire thing, but only this part. We will not be using the embossing folder today. We are just stamping and inking this up. But yeah, the coordinating embossing folder will help you add that embossed and detail and the texture to this particular image. So let's get started with this, and we will be using the stencils today and not coloring in directly. So I have a 4 by 5 1/4 inch panel set in my stamp wheel. Now this panel is slightly smaller than your standard A2 size card base because it's 4 by 5 1/4. Your standard A2 size card base is 4 1/4 by 5.5 inches. So you will have that beautiful border around it. Now my plan is to have this particular image on diagonally opposite sides. So I will stamp it here once and then turn or flip my panel, and then we will stamp it on this side as well. So that's the plan. So I will try as much as possible to cover this part of the panel with my image. And I will also make sure that I have enough space on this side so that the images don't overlap. I definitely want to heat emboss the image, so I will first bring in my anti-static powder and run it throughout the image, throughout the panel. And then for heat embossing, I am using the Obsidian Pigment Ink. If you're not doing your heat embossing, you can definitely stamp this with your dye inks, but I love that gloss and shine on all my projects. Now the smaller image is fairly easy if you want to just add color using your alcohol marker, but I really wanted to show you how beautiful these stencils are and how realistic those flowers turn out. There. Now I want the same exact image on the diagonally opposite side as well. So for that, I will just peel the panel and place it in the corner as is. Since I have rubbed my fingers there, I'll just bring in my anti-static powder and rub that area as well. And we can ink up the stamp again. Okay. You really don't need to stamp it twice because you're anyways going to be adding the embossing powder. But I just like to do it twice, maybe out of habit, or probably, yeah, it does give a lot more crisper impression. Am I saying it right? Jane underscore quick. Hi. Thank you for joining. So there. I will keep this aside and I will add some embossing powder to this. I'm using the clear embossing powder by Altenew. You can also use the black embossing powder, but clear works just fine. Now, instead of just pouring it over, I will tap it on the image once. Make sure like all those grooves get the embossing powder and then pour it out. I will do the same on the other side as well. I'll just make sure that those tiny little powder gets into each of the grooves and I don't have any exposed ink there. I'll funnel all the powder back into my bottle. And now I will go ahead and heat set this. I will place it under my Positively Everything tool. I like to use this tool specifically because we have a larger area to be heat fixed. So if I just hold the panel like this is what I have noticed. If I just apply heat, the panel warps a lot. So if you place it on something like this, even those cork dishes, um, on which you place your hot utensils, I think that those work well as well. But for me, my Positively Everything tool works just fine. I'll make sure my heat gun is really hot before I bring it to the paper so that I can quickly just run the heat tool over my panel to minimize as much warping as I can. Whenever I'm heat embossing, I like to start from the back. I will just roughly go around the image. I can very lightly see the stamped impression. You can not see that here on camera, but I can definitely see it here. And once that is done, I will bring it onto my image. I'll keep the heat tool moving. I'll not keep it concentrated at one place because again, we need to minimize the warping. I love that beautiful shine that it gives, the embossing. But if you're someone who does not enjoy embossing your stamp images, definitely go ahead and stamp this image with a dye ink, which dries a lot faster. And especially when you're ink blending, you don't want all that black ink to smudge and spoil all your ink blending. Well, even after all that, my panel did warp a little, but I think once we have all that ink blending in place, it might flatten out. So we'll see. Now I will not directly go ahead and add ink blending to this. I will give this panel a couple of seconds to cool down so that the hot powder that has been just melted, it cools down. Because if you directly go on to ink blending this panel, uh, the embossing, the melted embossing powder might just blend in with your ink, and we don't want that to happen. So now while my panel is resting, I'll just go ahead and arrange my stencils in number order. So I have, so all of these stencils you see are marked. So we have stencil number 1, then we have the stencil number 2, there's 3, 4, 5, and 6. So I'll just arrange them according to their numbers. So it's a lot more easy. Now, if you see closely, this stencil lines up perfectly with our images. So we have both these stamp sets here. Just place it like this so you can see better. This stencil will line up with all the images on both of the floral arrangement. So not just this big one, but we also have little area where we can color the smaller image as well. So there is a line that you can see that bifurcates from the big image versus the small image. So we can align this to the smaller image. Now I will go ahead and bring in my ultra sticky mat and place my panel right over it and make sure it's stuck properly to the panel. Go. And then I just want this part of the stencil. This whole thing goes on the bigger stamped image. This is what goes on the smaller part. So I will try to align it as closely as I can. And let's see how that lines up. Okay, this really needs a lot of space here. So it might take a little while to figure out where it lines up, especially since the stencil is so big and there's like, you need a lot of room around it. So you definitely want to make sure that everything lines up properly. Okay. And it has all the layers or all the different arrangements for your flowers. Since I'm having a little trouble, since we have not stamped the entire image, what I'll do is I'll just bring it onto this image, and with that I think it'll be a little more easier to line it up. So let's see where these go. So it goes like this. Okay, now that should be a lot more easy. So we actually don't have those 3 flowers where this lines up. That's why. Okay, so basically I think this comes like this. Yeah, you have to give it some time and make sure everything lines up perfectly before you add your stenciling. All right. I will bring that again. Once you get the hang of it, I think it'll be a lot more easier as compared to the struggle right now. So this is how my stamp is. And this is how the stencil needs to be placed. So I will just remove this big stamp from here. And we can try our best to line this up. See. Okay, this is something that I often struggle with. So sometimes if it doesn't work, I'll just go ahead and, just do it with my let me see. There you go. Yes, finally. It was not so difficult if we had the whole image, but since this is just part of that image, it's taking a little time. Hey, Monica, yes, I am live, and yeah, thank you. Thank you for being so patient. But yes, we've lined it up, and for ink blending, I'll be using some pink today. So I have the Bubblegum Dreams set, and I'll be using fuchsia. This is a beautiful pink, I feel, and I'll be using that. And I'll be adding the slightest bit of color. Now this one, the beauty about this set, what I feel is you don't need a lot of ink blending, especially the kind of ink blending that I will be doing today. I'm not going to be adding a lot of ink blending here. So I will place my this comes in on camera. Okay. So I have very little ink on my ink blending brush, and I will try to focus just on the centers of the flower. I am not going to add a whole lot of pressure on my ink blending brush. You could also use one of those mini ink blending brushes, but I think I will be using just this today, and I will show you how I do it. I don't place the blending brush directly flat. I will angle it a little bit, maybe a little like this. I'm not holding it flat. I'll just angle it so you get that pink intensity just on the centers. So there, I want the edges of these petals to stay white, or if not white, at least lighter. So I have dark pink on the center of the flowers and lighter outside. That's it. So that was stencil number 1 on one side. Now we just have to do the same on the other side. What time is it there, Alpha? Is it day or is it like night, like it's here? So coming back to this, I will do the same exact thing here as well. I will lightly blend the ink, and I'm also bending my blending brush. It's not completely flat. You could definitely use those mini ink blending brushes, but I feel this works well as well. So that was stencil number 1. I'll just bring this closer to the camera. You'll see it's a little darker on the center and light as we go to the tip of the petals. Okay. Now I will bring in my stencil number 2. Again, I will see if I can line it up to the floral image. If not, then I can bring in my stamp, and then we can line it like that, the stamp. Okay. There we go. Like I said, once you get the first 2 or 3 stencils right, then it's a lot more easy. Also a lot more easy if you had the whole image stamped. So I will repeat the same exact thing, but this time with every stencil, you could, change the intensity of color you're adding. Each petal does not have to look exactly the same. So in layer number 1, if you've added very little ink, I would say layer number 2, go in for a deeper impression or more pressure. So it does not have to be the same with all the images, or sorry, I'm sorry, all these stencils. So that's it. I will move this aside, and I will turn my panel, and now we can line this up. There we go. It's definitely a really large stencil, so you really need to have a lot of space around you so that the stencil fits. Again, I will be repeating this with all 6 layers. Now another combination that you can use is some beautiful coral shades, or you could also add some yellows along with the pink, or oranges or purples. Any of those colors would look absolutely stunning with this image. So I am absolutely loving this. Wow, 8:45 in France. That's some. It's 11:49 here. So yeah, we are doing late night crafting. So okay. So now I will bring in stencil number 3. Let's try to align this one here. Where would this go? Let's see. So So we will be doing the same exact thing again for all the stencils. I think the first 4 stencils have all the floral coloring, and then stencil number 5 and 6 has the branches and all the leaves. So absolutely love how this is coming about. So cool. Again, it was, I think, just the first stencil that was really difficult to line up. There goes stencil number 3. Now let's bring in our stencil number 4, which again is those remaining petals there. I think this is definitely the last set of petals that we have, the florals we have. The next 2 stencils will be our leaves. And yeah, well, this one does not have any of those thick branches as we have in those bigger images. But yeah, now this is really close to the edge, so I will cover it with a little scrap piece of paper. This is just a simple post-it note I have. I don't want that ink to come on the white part. I'll just cover it. It's very close to the edge. And with this one, I think I will just go very heavy-handed. So I get that beautiful transition of color. There you go. I will do the same exact thing on the other side as well. Isn't this absolutely gorgeous? You could definitely leave this as is to give that very clean, simple look. And or else you could definitely add color to the leaves using greens or any other color, maybe even, you know, browns or yellows, or just play with colors. Oh, I do love the sticky mat. This is, I think, almost when they came out with the sticky mat. I got it then, and I have been using this. It's very well loved. You can see it's so super stained, and I've got glitter and sparkle, and yeah, it's well loved. Okay, now let's add color to our leaves. Again, this let's just try to. So for this one, it'll be a little more easier. I'm not sure if you can see it here on camera. There are etched markings, so you can line those up with your flowers. So that makes it a little more easier as compared to, lining up everything with the first stencil with the flowers. So there. Now for the greens, I thought I would use a brighter green. So I will be using Fresh Leaf from the Whispering Woodland set. Let me bring in my green. And let's add green here. Now you'll see there are tiny little dots. That is a flower center. If you want, you could use the same green or add brown. To keep things simple, I'll just use the same green here. So I will ink blend green on the flower centers. Now this will not show as detailed. It'll be just a very subtle green on the flowers, but I still love it. And I will bring in the darker shade, which is Reindeer Moss, and add it just to the base of the leaves to just deepen that color, and also on the dots. That's it. Isn't that green absolutely gorgeous with the pink? I love this combination. And if you see those dots, they're very subtle. You can barely see it, but it's there. So it's up to you if you want to use it or no. Now I will align this on the other side and do the same exact thing here as well. I will first add Fresh Leaf. And add. And we are done with layer number 1. Now we have, I think this is stencil number 6. This is the last stencil. And we will line it up with the remaining image. All right. I'm repeating the same exact colors here as well. So I'll add the lighter shade of green all over, and when it comes to the darker shade, I will try to stick just to the base of all these images. So all of these are leaves, and then there's a tiny little stem here. I will try to stick as close to the base as possible. I will not go to the entire image. So you can do this with those tiny detailed ink blending brushes, but I feel it's just practice, and I kind of feel I get better control with this even on the smaller areas. So you'll see that beautiful shadow effect. So we have lighter tips and darker base. on our leaves. We will line that up. Yeah, I love pink and green. I think that's a beautiful color combination. I also love lavender and green. That is something I really wanted to try. And especially this green set that I have is the brighter greens that I have. So usually when I'm doing foliage or any kind of leaves, I use one of these sets. So it's either the Whispering Woodland or the Mediterranean Glow. If I want a little more rustic, vintagey look, I usually go with the Olive and the Sugar Kelp shade, which are these two shades. It's more leaning towards the lemon yellow shade. But when it comes to the darker greens, it's more of the olive green. And that you can pair with browns to give a more rustic vintage kind of look. But to pair with the bright pink, I wanted to use the brighter greens in my collection. So these are the two brighter greens that I have. So it usually just depends on my mood and like, what I'm going for. And yeah, it's nice and sunny summer here. So that's why I think I'm in mood for bright colors this time. But if I was recreating the same project in the winter months, I think I would go in for a little more rustic, moody kind of feel. So that's it. That's our panel. Isn't it absolutely gorgeous? Now all we have to do is add a sentiment strip and we can call this card done. Now to finish off this card, before I add some sentiment, I definitely have to add some splatters. My cards are usually never complete without splatters. So let me get my splatter box and some black ink. So I just have this box. This is any kind of cardboard box you have works well for this. And I will be adding some black splatters. So there are two blacks that I love. One is the Simons's Stamp Positively Perfect Black Splatter Medium. Well, this is meant for splattering. The other one is the Ink Sprays by Altenew. This is the Jet Black. For today's card, I'll be using the splatter medium. So all I have to do is just shake this well, and I will take it out of my splatter box to open just in case I spill it. I don't want to ruin this card panel. Okay. So now that I have my splatter medium with me, I will just dip my ink pad and very lightly just add a few splatters here and there. For this one, I want to keep it very minimal. That's the reason I'm going with the splatter medium. If I wanted deeper splatters, I would definitely use the Altenew's ink spray. I think that's more than enough. So I will set this aside. Oh, do you want pink splatters, Alpha? Um, let me see. Okay, let me see if I have anything pink near me. Okay. Let's see. Okay, so I have this little palette and let me pick up a nice pink from here. All right. Even gold would work really well for this one. And let me just clean the brush really well. I don't want any of that black contaminating my paint. Let me find a new paintbrush itself. Okay. All right. So I will just add some water to my, let me try to color match, and then I think I will go with this pink. I'll just add some water there and pick up some color. See how that looks. Gold would also look really good on this particular design. So I will, oh, all right. That matches beautifully. I think I might just need a little more water. All right, that looks beautiful. What do you think, Olfa? Doesn't it look pretty? So I'll just bring it up a little closer to the camera so that you can see. So we have pink and black, and I think it looks absolutely stunning. Thank you for the suggestion. I wouldn't have thought of the pink. Okay. Now I will let all that dry. In the meanwhile, let's work on our sentiment. So for my sentiment, I will be stamping a very simple sentiment for this one. Let's see which one we need. So I think I will go with I think sending hugs. So whenever I am creating cards, I usually create birthday cards and thank you cards, and very rarely do I have like any other occasion, say a little note to brighten your day or congratulations. Very rarely, but if at all I have to have like a congratulations card, or anything of that, I usually have a generic sentiment which says like sending hugs or sending sunshine. So if you have a sentiment like that, you can definitely turn it into a birthday card or into a thank you card. You can use that particular sentiment for basically any occasion. So I just like having generic sentiments on my cards. So if I stamp like a heartfelt thanks, so that's a thank you card. So you cannot use it for any other occasion. But something like sending hugs, you can use it for any occasion. Okay. So I will bring back my stamp field. I will place this aside. I can clean that later. And I will be stamping it on black with white heat embossing. So just to bring out all that beautiful contrast, I will stamp it on black and we'll be cutting out a little strip. So I will just place it to the very edge. Just like that. Just make sure it's straight. No, it's not. Sorry if my head gets in the way. I just need to make sure it's nice and straight there. All right. Okay. So I will first run my anti-static powder over it. And then since I'm using white embossing powder, you can definitely use your clear embossing inks, but I usually prefer using white on white. I think that gives a more crisp impression as compared to using white embossing powder with a clear embossing ink pad. That's again just personal preference. You could use your clear as well. Now, two of my absolute favorite white pigment inks are one from Simon and one from Altenew. Both of these are absolutely stunning when it comes to stamping white on any darker colored cardstock. So I will stamp this right there. Let's see, okay. I'm not applying a lot of pressure because this is a very small sentiment, so super delicate. I will just ink it up maybe 2 or 3 times depending on how that looks, but I'll just not add over pressure on that. So okay, that looks perfect. I don't think I need to stamp it again, so that looks fine. All right. So here I'm using my pure white pigment embossing powder. You can also use clear embossing powder since you've already stamped it in white ink. But white on white, I feel, gives a really crisp impression. I'll just tap it quite well and make sure all the letters get the embossing powder. And there we have it. Sometimes it's these subtle little sentiment strips that actually add a lot of elegance to the card as compared to having like bold sentiments. I really love having these small sentiments. The cloud white ink is really good. I absolutely love that. It's really juicy as well. So again, I'll just wiggle the paper around just to, make sure it's nice and dry before I trim a strip. Okay. Now, this is the scariest part for me, to get it right. Usually this is where I mess it up. So yeah, I'm hoping I get it right. See? That looks good. Sending hugs. Now I have this excess. I'll show you what I do with that. So first I will trim out my sentiment. So for delicate little strips like these, instead of adding foam tape behind my sentiment, I will just stack up a couple of layers of these, and I know it's the same width, so it's not going to show through or anything of that sort. But you think if it's a little bigger, or if it's just fitting exact and you need a little more smaller, you can definitely trim it out. So that's why I use the remaining strip. I usually don't throw these out. So I will just make it a little more thinner, slightly. There you go. And now we can stick this to add dimension instead of using foam tape. That I feel gives it a lot more cleaner look as compared to adding foam tape behind these delicate little sentiment strips. So what I do is add glue, stick it there, and just trim the excess, and maybe add another layer. I usually like to add, say, 2 or 3 layers there. So this gives an instant dimension to your little sentiment strip. Okay, now that this is done, we can bring our panel. I think the watercolor is all dried up by now. So we can bring the panel, and the beauty about this is you could place it either like this or just center it over here. Either way works fine. So I think I'll go this way. So I will add a little bit of that glue and add this right there, that open space. I'll just use my T-square ruler to make sure it's straight. Now since we added liquid glue, we do get some wiggle time, and I know that's straight now. And that's pretty much our card. The only thing left to do is add it onto a card base. So I like to have white on white. You could also go with the same card base, but I prefer having white on white and also adding dimension. So before I do that, I will just add a little stamp on the back. This is just my Instagram handle that I have on all my cards. And while that ink is drying, we will add foam tape to this piece. If you're looking for a good pair of scissors, this is something that I absolutely love. This is again by Simon's Stamp, and these are really sharp and I absolutely love them. So that's there. I can go ahead and mount this. So what I like to do is I just like to hold my panel in place with some washi tape, my card base in place, so that when I'm placing this, nothing moves around. And I can just pop it right there. All right. And that's it, guys. Our card is done. That was well, I would say a simple card. Just the alignment of the stenciling in the very beginning took a little while, but I'm really happy with how it turned out. You could definitely add some gems, but I will leave this as is because I have enough splatters around. So I don't think I'll be adding any gems. And this is the card for today, using just that small little image from the Sakura Blossom set. This one, I do have a video coming up where I'll be showing you how I color in this big, beautiful image. But that one I'll be turning into a wall art instead of cards. Now, if you want to see me turn these into cards, I do have an online workshop coming up where I share 4 cards. Actually, I share a project where I create 4 cards using this stamp set. Let me bring those real quick. So these are the 4 cards that we will be creating in the workshop using this stamp and stencil combo. Hi, Papa. So I stamped this entire image onto one piece of that big card panel. And once we colored in the entire image, I then trimmed it into 4 card panels, and we have this. So this workshop is on the 20th of June. If you guys are interested, I'll have all the details on my Instagram and even on the Facebook page. So I will leave links to all of those in the description box below. I don't have the banners yet. Once I have it, I will publish it even on my Instagram and other social media platforms. And if I have your email IDs, I can send it out to you guys in one of those newsletters that I send out. But this is my next workshop. And if you're interested, please send me a DM or email me. I can add you to the participant list. So this was the card for today. And this is a coral pink. This is that bright fuchsia pink that we used for this particular card. I used the coral red for these cards. So this is from the Carnival Magic. So if you're interested in this, I will have all the supplies, including the colors. And this is the Mediterranean Glow Green, not the greens that we use today. So you will see different looks. And all the supplies that I used here for this card and for this one also, I will leave links to all of those in the description box below. And Altenew is, I think, still having the free shipping. So if you'd like to make a purchase, now is the time, because I think anything over $39 is free shipping. So that's a fun time to shop. And well, also all the links that are mentioned down, please note everything. All those links are affiliate links, which means that if you shop using one of my links, I'll get a small commission at no cost to you guys. So thank you so much for being here with me today. It's almost an hour. And thank you for being so patient, and also for the pink splatter ideas. I really love how this card turned out with the pink splatters. These ones are a little clean and simple with just some gems and sparkles, but this I absolutely love. And thank you so much. I will see you again for my next live next Saturday. Bye-bye.